Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to another Bracketology update. Today is for December 21st. It's been a while since the last one came out. I think it was like December 11th. But there's been some big changes, as you can see here. One, Kentucky's already down to an 8 seed after starting the season as a 1. They lost to Seton Hall, they lost to Duke. They're my favorite team, but they just haven't shown much promise so far. Even Iowa and Louisville are above them at this point. Purdue is down to an 8 seed. They were projected to be a top 10 team at one point at the beginning of the season. They're not doing so hot either. Ohio State's down to a 5. Houston's up to a 6. Buffalo is up to a 3. I think that's the most surprising thing about this bracketology. Buffalo just went on the road and beat Syracuse, but they have been a surprise team so far this season. And Villanova's down to a 6 as well. I know a lot of people had them as a 1 or a 2 to begin the season, but yeah, so here's the bracket that Joe Lenardi's predicted right now. I'll go ahead and show you guys the bubble. Last 4 in are UCF, Arizona, San Francisco, and Utah State. First 4 out are Northwestern, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and Furman, which Furman's in the top 25, but Joe Lenardi doesn't think they'll be in the tournament as of right now. And the next 4 out are Colorado, Syracuse, which is the perennial bubble team, and Washington and UCLA. So if you guys have been following me, which I know a lot of you have been, for the past year or so, you know I go to Brackify.com and create a bracketology for you guys to go ahead and vote. Now, I know in about 10 days, right now is December 31st, or 21st. On the 31st, Brackify is going to be shutting down, so I'll figure out a way to where I can keep at least trying to get this out for you guys. If not, for you guys to be able to vote, just show you guys what I'm thinking about it. But I'll try to figure it out. We'll see what happens with it. And without further ado, I'll put the link for the video or for the bracket for you guys to vote in the description. Without further ado, let's go ahead and go to my predictions. So first off, this one's going to be pretty obvious. Kansas is going to beat the winner of St. Francis and Texas Southern, which I think will be Texas Southern. They beat Oregon earlier in the season. Purdue and Arizona State. I like Purdue. I really like Purdue. And then Ohio State and Lipscomb. Lipscomb almost beat Louisville at Louisville earlier, about a couple weeks ago. I think Ohio State wins that one. Virginia Tech's going to beat Charleston. Oregon, with Bowl, they're going to lose to Marquette. They just haven't been really... they have a lot of talent, but they just haven't really been putting it together so far this season. And Wisconsin's going to beat Harvard, though Harvard's been known to make some upsets in the NCAA tournament. NC State and Florida, got to go with NC State here. They just beat Auburn last night, and Auburn's a top 10 team. Then Gonzaga will beat McDowell and South Dakota State. Virginia will beat Lehigh. Maryland will pull off the first upset for me so far. And then Indiana will beat Wofford with Romeo Langford. Texas Tech, who just lost to Duke and now lost their first game of the season, they're going to lose to St. Louis. Houston will beat the winner of Arizona and San Francisco, which I think will be Arizona. Then Auburn's going to beat Loyola Chicago, who's returning to the bracket. Last week they weren't in it, but this week they're back in it. I think Auburn's going to win that one. Then Kansas State and Minnesota. I know Kansas State just lost their best player for about 8 weeks or so. I think his last name's Wade. I think Minnesota wins that one as of right now with Richard Pitino. And then Nevada's going to beat Montana. Duke will beat Rider. St. John's will beat Iowa State. I honestly don't know anything about Iowa State this year or why they're projected to be an 8 seed. Mississippi State will beat New Mexico State. Nebraska, which I don't know anything about Nebraska either. I got to start researching this stuff. They're a 4 seed. I don't know how, but I guess we'll see once conference play starts up. I'll get a better picture of who they are as a team. They're going to beat Old Dominion there. And then Villanova versus Utah State and UCF. I think Taco Fall and UCF win that first 4 matchup, but then Villanova beats them. Then Buffalo will beat Vermont. Louisville will beat LSU, and then Michigan State will beat Northern Kentucky. Then we got Michigan beating Stephen F. Austin versus Howard, which I think will be Stephen F. Austin. Kentucky will beat Butler. It kills me that they're an 8 seed. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I like Murray State. I think they've only lost like 1 or 2 games this season. I like them over Florida State. I'm going to be the first one to pick them. Then Oklahoma will beat UC Irvine. Cincinnati will beat Creighton. North Carolina will beat Georgia State. Texas will be an underdog here against Iowa. I don't know why. I don't know anything about Iowa either. I don't know why they're a 7 seed, but I think Texas will beat them. And then Tennessee will beat Radford. And then first spot in the Sweet 16, Kansas and Purdue. Got to go with Kansas there. Then Ohio State and Virginia Tech. I'm going to go Ohio State with a slight upset right there moving on. And then Wisconsin as a 3 seed, Ethan Happ. I think they beat Marquette. Gonzaga will beat NC State. Virginia will beat Maryland. Then Indiana with Romeo Langford. I think they beat Texas Tech. I watched about the final 5 minutes of the game against Duke yesterday, and even with Zion Williamson out, Texas Tech just didn't impress me. They were tied at 53, I think, with like 6 minutes to go, and they ended up losing by 11, so it wasn't even really close. I'm going to go with Romeo Langford and Indiana there. Auburn will beat Houston. Nevada will beat Minnesota. Duke will beat St. John's. And Mississippi State, Nebraska, I'm just going to go with Mississippi State here. I know a little bit more about them just from them being the SEC, but I'll learn more about Nebraska before I make this next bracketology update for you guys. And then I think I'm going to go with the slight upset here, Buffalo. I know they just proved they can hang by beating an ACC team in Syracuse, but I think that Villanova is just a better team. They're just underperforming right now. Then Michigan State, this is a rematch of like 13 years ago in the Final Four, somewhere around there. But I got Michigan State moving on. As much as I want to pick Kentucky here, I'm a cat for life. Go Big Blue. Michigan, I think they're one of the biggest surprises. I think they have the best resume out of any team in the NCAA right now. I think they beat Kentucky, as much as it pains me to say it. Then I'm going to go with Murray State moving on here, beating Oklahoma to the Sweet 16. They're my Cinderella team this year. North Carolina will beat Cincinnati. Then Tennessee will beat Texas. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we got Kansas beating Ohio State, Gonzaga beating Wisconsin, Virginia beating Romeo Langford in Indiana, and we got Nevada beating Auburn. Then Duke, they're just going to overpower Mississippi State here. Then I think Michigan State will beat Villanova, Michigan will beat Murray State, and then Tennessee will beat North Carolina. Then for a spot in the Final Four, Kansas and Gonzaga. I like Kansas moving on there. And then same here. I was going to pick Nevada. I knew I was going to. Wasn't surprised that 6-1 people would pick Nevada beating Virginia. But I'm going to go with them, make it 7-1. And then Duke will beat Michigan State. And then I think Tennessee's going to win here. I think Tennessee's only loss was against Kansas, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I'm going to be the first one to put them in the Final Four against Duke. Then in first spot in the national championship game, Nevada and Kansas. I got to go with the number 1 overall seed, number 1 team in the nation right now, Kansas. And then Duke will beat Tennessee. And then the first couple of times I've picked Duke to win it all, but they've been struggling a little bit recently. And struggling in the sense that they're just not performing as the hype says. I mean, they're still one of, if not the best team in the nation. But I think Kansas, once they get Azubike back, I think they beat Duke and win the national championship. Based off of this, at this point in time, you never know what's going to happen in the second half of the season, especially once conference play starts up. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out the rest of my bracketology videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already. Be sure to click that link in the description that I'll be putting in for you guys to go ahead and vote. And I will see you all later. Thanks for watching.